So when I was in India in December, an old friend, a Dharma student from DFF, was there, and she was wondering whether to take an initiation that His Holiness Dalai Lama was offering, and we didn't have much time to discuss it before he was offering it. And so she asked me if I would please discuss this at a BBC about what is an initiation, what's the difference between, because there's several different English terms floating around out there. What do they all mean, and the different Tibetan terms mean, and what are they, and how do you prepare for one, and what are the commitments, and so on. Okay, so there's two basic Tibetan words. One is Wang, and the other one is Jainong. The term Wang is translated sometimes as initiation and sometimes as empowerment. I think empowerment's probably a better one because the term Wang generally means power. Yeah, so it's empowering you to do the practice of the deity. Jainong is a permission to do a practice, okay? The Wangs, or the thing that's confusing in English, is the term initiation is sometimes used for both Wangs and Jainongs. And so people don't know what they're taking. And even sometimes you ask the people at the center, they don't know either. Yeah, so you have to ask the teacher and get the scoop. So initiations are usually 2-day affairs. A first day of, introducing you to the practice and so on, and then on the second day, taking whatever ethical restraints pertain to that particular practice. A Jainong is a permission that is done after somebody has an appropriate empowerment that qualifies them to take this particular permission to do the deity practice. Okay? Now, to explain further, we have 4 classes of Tantra. This is in the New Translation Schools, the Khargyur, Sakya, and Gelu. And so there's 4 classes of Tantra. So Action Tantra, Performance Tantra, Yoga Tantra, and Highest Yoga Tantra. Okay? In the first 2, the Action and Performance Tantras, you just take the Bodhisattva vows, and that is done on the basis of taking refuge and hopefully having taken some or all of the 5 precepts. Atisha really indicates people should take all 5 precepts. Nowadays, many teachers just say refuge is sufficient. But anyway, somebody should definitely know that the Buddhism is their path. It shouldn't be a new person walking in, or somebody who's still exploring things, okay? For Yoga Tantra and Highest Yoga Tantra, then there's the tantric ethical restraints. Okay, mostly, at least in Gelu, I'm not sure about the others, they give either the Action Tantra, which is the lowest class Tantra, or the Maha Anuttara Yoga, the highest class Tantra. The ones in between are not so plentiful. The Yoga Tantra, that one basically, that has some practices. They have them in Tibetan, but it's very popular in Japanese Shingon, which is a tantric tradition. In the Nyingma, they establish things in a 9-vehicle system. The first 3 are the Here, Solitary Realizer Bodhisattva vehicle. The second 3 are the first 3 of the tantras, the Action, Performance, and Yoga. And the last 3 pertain to the Highest Yoga Tantra. So it's a slightly different enumeration and setup in Nyingma. Okay. Now, the thing is, at least from the Gelu perspective, the Wangs that are given mostly are the Highest Yoga Tantra. The one Wang or empowerment that's frequently given from the lowest class Tantra is that of Thousand-Arm Chenrezig. Okay? So like I said, it's a 2-day thing, and it's there's certain, there's 4 basic initiations or empowerments within that empowerment, within a big empowerment, but in the Action Tantra, you only get part of the first one. I'm not going to go into all that detail because it just gets too confusing, okay? But basically what you're being introduced to is the practice of the deity. You enter the mandala, you're able to visualize yourself as the deity, okay? After you've taken the Chenrezig empowerment of the Action Tantra, the lowest class Tantra, then if you want to take the Jainangs, the permissions of other Action Tantra deities, such as Tara, Medicine Buddha, the Manjushri, White Tara, these kinds of ones, Four-Arm Chenrezig, then you can take them on the basis of that and visualize yourself as that particular deity, because having taken the empowerment of Thousand-Arm Chenrezig, you can now visualize yourself as a Action Tantra deity. Many times teachers give just the Jainangs for the deities. If you haven't taken the empowerment before, then you are not allowed to visualize yourself in the form of Manjushri, White Tara, Green Tara, Medicine Buddha, but you are given the permission to visualize the deity in front, which you can do even without having received the Jainang. The Jainang is basically a blessing of the body, speech, and mind of that particular deity. Okay? So is that clear? Yeah? Then with the Wangs, or the empowerment for the highest class Tantra, if you've taken one of those, you can also take the Jainangs for the lowest class Tantra. Okay, because the idea is you have to have a Jainang of the comparable, or you have to have a Wang, an empowerment of the comparable class of Tantra or something higher in order to take the Jainangs, okay, of the Action Tantra, the Kriya Tantra. Okay? Now, with the empowerments of highest class Tantra, again, it's a 2-day thing. Once in a while, the teachers will squash it all into 2 days, but usually not. I mean, into 1 day, but usually it's 2 days. Okay? And so those are deities such as Guhya Samaja, Hayagriva, Mantaka, Heruka Chakrasamvara. Okay? Vajrayogini is not an empowerment. Vajrayogini is a Jainang, a highest class Tantra Jainang, that's taken on the basis of having first taken a Wang, an empowerment of a highest class Tantra deity. Okay? You cannot do Vajrayogini just as your first highest class Tantra thing, nor can you do it on the basis of an empowerment from the Action Tantra. Okay? So, together with when you take a Jainang or an empowerment, there's usually some kind of commitment, although nowadays lamas try, at least for Westerners, and I think for the lay Tibetans too, to make it minimal so that people don't break it. But you have to inquire before you take an empowerment, especially, because that's where the commitments and the precepts are stricter. Before you take it, what the commitments and what the precepts are. Okay? Usually with the Action Tantra, it's just say a certain number of mantra every day and keep the bodhisattva ethical restraints. with the highest class Tantra, you have the tantric ethical restraints, yeah, plus you have the pledges or commitments of the 5 Dhyani Buddhas. Okay, and there's a whole list of them, so, divided into the 5 different Dhyani Buddhas. Okay, now to keep all those pledges or commitments and the ethical restraints, at least in Gelu, I'm not sure about the other traditions, you're asked to do the 6 session Guru Yoga. So that is a text. The long version is a few pages. The short version is 1 page. And you do it 6 times a day. 3 times in the morning, 3 times in the evening. Very often one just after the other. Okay? And so by meditating on this, it helps you fulfill some of the commitments that have to do with the highest class Tantra in terms of keeping the ethical restraints and especially keeping the pledges of the 5 Dhyani Buddhas. Okay? So you have to be ready to do that every day, And then in addition, there's often a commitment practice to do the practice of the deity that you took the initiation of. So sometimes it's a retreat commitment, sometimes it's a daily sadhana commitment, which may be to do the long sadhana or the short sadhana. Sometimes it's a commitment to do a retreat, which may be a long retreat or a short retreat, plus the sadhana, either long or short, every day. So this is why it's extremely important to ask before you take something, so that you know what the commitment is, you know what you're entering into, and you want to do this practice. Because the whole purpose, this is a big point I'm coming to here, the whole purpose of taking the empowerment or the Jainang is to do the practice. It's not to get some kind of blessing. It's to do the practice. So your main motivation has to be you want to do that practice. So it shouldn't be that the commitment to do the practice is like a tax you have to pay that you don't want to do, but you have to do it in order to get some blessed water and get hit on the head. It should not be like that, okay? It should be that you want to do this practice. And why do you want to do this practice? It's not so you could show off your tantric implements and have fancy-looking tankas on your wall. It's so that you can become a Buddha as quickly as possible in order to benefit sentient beings who are suffering, because you can't bear to see their suffering, and you have this urgent feeling to become Buddha very quickly. Okay? So you have to have the proper motivation. Yeah. Nowadays, people seem to think that an initiation is like a tourist extravaganza that, they can go to as a tourist. Yeah. Oh, I heard there's some kind of initiation going on today. Can I go? And then people say yes, and then they show up. And then, they hear all this stuff. And they seem to think that the less they understand, the bigger blessing they get. Okay? So the more the Lama speaks in Tibetan and mumbles and, rings the bell and plays the dorje and, especially if there's a big drum, and especially the blessed water and the rice. And, Tibetan Buddhism there's a lot going on. And, and so they seem to think that they can just, there's a lot of misunderstanding that they can just come and absorb the good vibes as a blessing. Okay? The only empowerment where His Holiness allows that is when He gives Kala Chakra. And that is because Kala Chakra has to do with society as a whole. So there, He gives people the option, which I don't know if it was ever given in the past by previous Dalai Lamas who gave Kala Chakra. I don't know if they gave this option, but the present Dalai Lama does. He said you can decide to take the empowerment together with the commitments and the ethical restraints, or you can come and take it as a neutral witness, a neutral spectator, without taking the ethical restraints and the pledges. But in that way, you also don't take the empowerment. You're present at it as a neutral witness. So he gives that people the permission to do that for Kala Chakra only. His Holiness also says that he gives teachings before Kala Chakra, and he asks people to come to those teachings before doing the Kala Chakra empowerment, because he figures that they'll learn something from the teachings, but how much they get out of the Kala Chakra is to be seen. But he said that some people fool him. They don't turn up for the teachings, they just come for the empowerment. And he says that's not the way it should be, okay? But for other deities, it's not allowed to be a neutral witness to it. Okay?